we're going to stay with this as long as we keep power. If you watched us earlier this afternoon, we had a tornado just like that came through Coleman. I would suggest this might even be larger than the Coleman tornado.
I think it's much larger than that one.
This thing looks like it might be over 1/2 mile wide, maybe up to 3/4 of a mile wide.
It's coming across Joe Malisham Park. Actually, just past Joe Malisham Parkway.
Goodness, look at that.
That is huge.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to do something different today. I'm actually going to be doing a story time video because it's April 27th today, and it is the 5th year anniversary of the April 27th, 2011 tornado that I experienced, and it was a pretty scary day, but I figured, you know, since it's the 5th year anniversary and Tuscaloosa and the surrounding areas are thriving again, I feel like it is the perfect time to share this story with you guys. So if you don't know anything about the tornado outbreak that I'm talking about, you can Google the 2011 super outbreak and it'll give you all the information on all the tornadoes that happened in that time frame. It was actually a couple of days of tornadoes. I'm going to talk about the April 27th tornado that hit the Tuscaloosa, Alberta, Northport area because that's the one that affected me the most. I'm definitely going to show some of the footage, and I guess let's get started. This isn't like a let's get started type of situation. It's kind of like a alright, let's get started. I'm very nervous filming this right now because anytime anybody ever mentions this day, or if I think about it, my stomach just drops into my butthole. I get sick thinking about it. So hopefully I can keep it together for this video and not embarrass myself too much. April 27th wasn't the first day of tornadoes. We had actually had tornadoes a few days before, and a few weeks before we had a couple tornadoes with like not too much damage or anything. So I was really one of those people that was never really, I never really got afraid when there was severe weather threats. I was just like, cool, we get to get out of class early. I was that kind of person. But my roommates at the time were very, like they didn't play, like they got scared about that kind of stuff. And they were always the ones that would like go into their bathrooms, because we each had our own bathroom. They would go into their bathrooms like you're supposed to do, and I would just be like in my room watching TV. I did not care, which is crazy because I used to live in Florida. Like I've experienced hurricanes and just, anyway, we'd had a lot of false alarms. Well, not necessarily false alarms, but tornadoes that didn't really have that much damage. So I was really like, whatever. I'm not too concerned about this tornado or this series of tornadoes. When I was at school that day, I had heard that we had a tornado warning, and I was like, okay, well, I'm going home because we actually got stuck at school a couple weeks prior because, you know, they stopped running the buses and all that stuff, and we were stuck at school. And I was like, I'm gonna get home before I'm gonna be stuck at school again. I actually had to return some audio equipment from my sound engineering class that I was taking. It was a weird class. I was walking to class and I looked up in the sky, and the sky was legitimately purple. And I was like, I've never seen the sky look like that before. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I'm definitely gonna go home. I don't have time to be stuck at school. I'd rather be in my apartment. I turned in the camera equipment. I noticed that one of the kids in my class was watching like some live news feed of tornadoes hitting. And there was this one city, and I don't know why I can't remember the name. I'll insert it here probably, maybe if I feel like it. They were getting hit back to back with tornadoes, and he was just watching the live footage of it, and I was just like, y'all are crazy, let's go. Why are y'all still in class? When I got home, my roommates were like freaking the fuck out. One of them she didn't play, all right? She was like ready to get in that tub. She was not playing games. They were telling me that it was supposed to be like a serious situation because they knew that I was really like whatever about tornadoes, and they were really trying to convey to me like, no, they say this is gonna be a bad tornado. So I was just trying to get a hold of my boyfriend at the time. He was at work, and he worked at a barbershop, and one of the walls was just all glass, and it was an old building. So I was like, I definitely don't want you to be at the barber shop when this tornado hits. Like, get to my house, you know, like hurry up and get here. And he was like, no, I'll just stay at work. And I was like, if you don't get your ass to my apartment right now. The storm was, you know, obviously getting worse and worse. And I remember another one of my roommates had some friends that lived in our apartment complex, but they lived on the second floor. So they came to our apartment because we lived on the first floor. And I just remember it being loud and chaotic because there was too many loud people in my apartment. It was getting kind of serious, and I was like really wondering where my boyfriend was. And he finally got to my house, and I decided, okay, well, maybe I should turn on the news so I could know what's going on. And so I lit some candles because I was like, you know, just in case the power goes out, I want to have candles lit. Looking back, that wasn't really the best idea. I lit some candles and I turned my TV so that I could see it from my bathroom and the bathtub, because, you know, I knew that we were gonna have to get in the bathtub eventually. And my boyfriend was like, we had this huge storm coming toward us, and my boyfriend was heating up ramen noodles and just like acting like there was nothing wrong. And I was like, if you don't get your ass in this tub right now. James Spann, I don't know if you guys know who James Spann is. I'm from Alabama, so James Spann is like huge. And you know, there's this thing with James Spann. If he rolls up his sleeves, you know shit is about to go down. All right. So he definitely had his sleeves rolled up, and he was like on it. And everyone was getting really nervous. And the last thing I remember him saying was, the storm has hit. It's on the ground in Tuscaloosa, and he was like, if you live anywhere near Hargrove Road, you better start praying. And then the power went out. Naturally, I lose my mind because I live on Hargrove Road, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's the last thing that he said before the power went out. And like, what do I do? We heard the tornado, and at this point my roommates and their friends were all like in their respective bathrooms, and I heard the tornado coming. So I wasn't really in my bathroom. I was kind of like doing what I wasn't supposed to do, and I was like wandering around my room. And so I jumped over the TV to go run into the bathroom because I heard the tornado. It sounded like a freight train, and I'd never heard a tornado before, so it scared the piss out of me. And so I jumped over the TV, and me and my boyfriend got into the tub, and then I remembered, oh my gosh, I have all these candles lit. The tornado was coming at us, and I was like, you know, the candles are gonna fall over, the apartment's gonna catch on fire. So I jumped back over the TV. Mind you, I hear the tornado, and so I'm like terrified, and I like blow out all the candles. And you know, they were like the old candles that didn't have the glass around them. They were like the old school candles. And so wax got all over my desk, and it was a furnished apartment. So I'm like, shit, they're gonna charge me for this messed up desk. Tornado is still, I still hear it. And I was like standing by my window. So I was like, I don't have time for this. I jump back in my TV, get in the tub, and me and my boyfriend like huddle in the tub as we hear the tornado get louder and louder and louder and louder and louder and louder and louder. And it finally passes, and it was so surreal. I felt like I was above us, watching us hover over in the tub. I don't think I'd ever been that afraid in my life, because I literally thought that our apartment was going to, you know, get demolished. The tornado was finally, like, it had finally passed us, and we sat up in the tub, and we were just like, what do we do now? Like, is it okay to come out? We came out of the tub, and we just kind of like collected ourselves, because that's kind of a really scary thing to go through, I guess. We collected ourselves, and we opened our doors, and like all my other two roommates, they come out of their rooms, their eyes wider than I've ever seen them, like, did that just happen? And so we don't know what to do. No one has power. No one has any cell service. So we eventually hear a bunch of people outside, and I guess everyone in the apartment had kind of come outside to kind of, I guess, talk about how crazy that just was. Keep in mind, everything around my apartment complex had been demolished. Like, the city was devastated. Okay, I don't think you guys understand. The city was devastated, but we didn't know this because our apartment, ironically enough, was still standing, which is crazy because it was such a cheaply made apartment. Like, they were nice apartments, but it was made with like cheap stuff. So I'm really surprised that it didn't like blow away. So we had no idea that the city was devastated. And so everyone was just kind of like outside. No one had service. Everyone was trying to like get in touch with people. And we kept hearing sirens, but we didn't really know what was going on because we were kind of like, we were in the middle of our apartment complex, so we couldn't really see the outside world, I guess you could say. So there was this CVS that was kind of like across the street from my apartment complex, and I never forget this. I never wanted to beat somebody's ass so badly. I heard her say, "Guys, the CVS across the street is blown away. Let's go loot some beer." And I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, you want to loot beer? What is wrong with you? Nobody would let us leave the apartment complex. All we heard was sirens. We didn't know what was going on. There was no cell service. There was no nothing. No power, no anything. So we went back into our apartment because those people outside were talking crazy stuff. And I was like, I don't have time. I don't have time for this. Let's go back inside. Again, nobody's phones were working. But ironically, the people with Sprint were randomly getting bursts of cell phone service, which is so crazy because Sprint sucks. But they were like every now and then getting like bits and pieces of cell phone service. But everyone's phone was like, you know, we didn't want to use our phone too much because we didn't have any power. We didn't know when the next time we would be able to charge our phone was. And I guess somebody was able to post to Facebook, and that's how we were getting our information because nobody knew what was going on. My roommate came out of her room. I've never seen her cry before. And she was crying. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is wrong? I just remember her saying, guys, Tuscaloosa is devastated. And she was crying as she was saying that. She was like, the city is gone, it's devastated. And it didn't register to me. I couldn't imagine that because our apartment complex was still intact and I couldn't see anything outside of our apartment complex. So I was in shock and I didn't really believe her. And then I saw pictures because somebody had uploaded a video to Facebook and she was showing like pictures and videos that she'd found on her feed. And I was in shock. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I was like, what are we supposed to do? Because we heard sirens. That's all we heard for hours. And we were just like, what are we supposed to do? Where do we go? What do you do when your city gets blown away by a tornado? There's no handbook for that. Eventually it got dark and I was kind of getting scared because our apartment complex was left unlocked because we had all these people that, lived on the second floor, her friends that were with us, and they were inviting their friends because they were like, hey, are you guys safe? Come over to so-and-so apartment so we can all, be together. You want to make sure your people are safe, which is fine. But I was terrified because our door was unlocked because people, were coming in and out. I didn't know half of these people. We didn't have any food. All we had was a box of Cheez-Its. We didn't want to open the fridge because we didn't want the food to go bad. All we had was like a box of Cheez-Its that we were rationing for like 13 people. We didn't know when's the next time we would be able to leave or get food or, cook or do anything. So I was terrified. I guess the thought of that girl looting the store, I was like, what if people are trying to loot? When natural disasters happen, people tend to get violent and break the law, like a purge or something. So I was just terrified that somebody was going to break in to our apartment and like rob us. And I just had this unexplainable fear that night. I don't know, we didn't have that many candles, so it was pretty dark in our apartment and we didn't know what to do. And so we were all collectively just kind of freaking out and just sitting there in shock and disbelief and fear because we didn't know what was next. So eventually we all went to bed. It was very hard to sleep that night, if you could imagine. And then the next day, I was finally able to get a hold of my parents because they were shitting bricks, and I used somebody's phone who had Sprint. I called my mom, my dad, and I was like, I'm okay. They're not letting us leave. All the roads are closed. We're not sure what we're supposed to do. And I was obviously sobbing because what else do you do when your whole city is gone? And so they were like, see if you can get to Montgomery, like see if you can come home. And I was like, okay, well, I'll try, but the roads are closed off and their gas stations are not a thing right now. Like, what is a gas station? But first things first, we had to find my boyfriend's family. His family lived on the other side of town, and we hadn't heard anything from them. And we were really freaked out because his brother at the time worked at a Milo's down the street from my house, and we'd heard that the Milo's had been completely destroyed. It was not there anymore. So we were just really concerned with finding his family and making sure they were alive and making sure they still had their house. We drove around town like we couldn't find his brother, and I was just terrified that he was just under the rubble that was Milo's. And we drove all around town. His car got blown away and the building fell on him, but he didn't get hurt. He was just sore. I think he had like a bruised rib or something. It took us like 3 times as long, maybe 4 times as long to get to his mom's house as it would have, because all the roads were blocked. There was debris in the road. There was traffic because people were trying to get, it was just mayhem. And I recorded some of the devastation that I saw when we were driving to his mom's house. I didn't recognize Tuscaloosa. Roads that I had driven up and down hundreds of times, I didn't recognize. I had to literally ask him where we were, and he was like, this is Hargrove Road. This is the road that you live on. And I was like, shut up. This is not. It was unrecognizable. It was too much. That was across the street from my house. Okay, so right here is the mall. The mall was literally right next to my apartment complex. This tornado is on its way behind my apartment complex right now as we speak. It is behind my apartment complex. I am in my tub freaking the fuck out because probably, see where this tree is over here? Behind these trees, behind that building is where my apartment was. And I was terrified. Just looking at that makes me want to throw up. But yeah, that tornado just went right by my house in that shot right there. So that's pretty scary. Oh Lord. Okay, I'm gonna turn this off. I'm turning this off, guys. I can't do this anymore. I was having a good day. So you guys really need to take weather seriously. If there's, turn on weather alerts, get you a weather radio. I know my meteorology friends are gonna love this. Get you a weather radio and just be aware and know your safe place and just have a plan. Pray for the people who went through that because, today is gonna be a hard day for them. And so just pray for them. And if you like this video, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later.